All right, so let's just dig into fundamental one, which is
pitch or intonation. We're going to talk about the difference between what is pitch and what is intonation, because you hear both of these words in the music world, and they are different yet related. So pitch is actual notes. It's the tone that you hear. Okay. Intonation is a series of notes. It's a melodic line. And it's interesting because we have intonation in speech. When we talk, we speak on about a 5-note range in our daily lives. So when we ask a question, we go, "Are you having a nice day?" And we ask it going up. When we end a sentence, we end it going down. So you can hear these fluctuations in just everyday pitch. That's how we accent things that are important to us. So like I just said, we accent things that are important to us. Our pitch will slightly raise or lower, and we will change our rhythm. So it's interesting because even in our daily speech, we're dealing with pitch and intonation. The only difference is that in singing, it's elongated. And the range of notes that we sing, or the range of pitch that we phonate on, is a lot greater. Some artists don't, though. Some artists just stay right in their talking voice the whole time, which is totally fine.
Sure.
So that's the difference between pitch and intonation, so that we're very, very clear on that. And it's interesting because a lot of people think that they're tone deaf.
Yeah, this concept of being tone deaf, I would say most of the people that I talk to outside of the studio, obviously when people come into the studio, they think, hey, I've been singing for a while, I'm pretty good at this, or this is something that I would like to take to the next level. So it's already something that they're very interested in. They feel usually somewhat comfortable in. Mm-hmm. But outside of the studio, everybody I talk to says, well, can you teach me voice lessons? Because I'm tone deaf. Like, yeah. I get that constantly.
And then, we teach a free introductory lesson to all our first-time students who come in the studio. And so a lot of people come in for their first lesson and they go, you know what? I've always wanted to do this, but I think I'm a lost cause. Can you tell me if I can sing? I can't really sing on pitch. And we hear that all the time. Or they don't say, I can't sing on pitch. They say, I think I'm tone deaf, right?
Yeah, but what is being tone deaf? Let's just clear that up for everyone right now. Being tone deaf is actually not being able to hear the difference in tones.
Yeah, like
right?
You can't actually hear fluctuations in pitch. You can't decipher between them.
Like think about colorblind, right? You can't tell the difference between certain colors.
Think of it, if you are not colorblind, as just seeing grayscale everything, right? There's not a specific color palette, right? You can see shades, but you can't really see vibrant colors. It's the same type of idea with being tone deaf. You can't hear changes between pitch well. And you definitely can't match that pitch with your voice.
So what's actually going on when people think that they're tone deaf, which is a lot of people who come in or a lot of people that we talk to on the street? What is actually going on there?
So the interesting thing about the whole tone deaf thing, we're going to bust that for just a second. Barring disabilities and hearing impairments, most people are not tone deaf. They may struggle with intonating or like hearing pitch and singing pitch, but they're not actually tone deaf because they can hear fluctuations in pitch. And a lot of people, they'll sing off key and they know they're off, but they don't know how to fix it. And it's actually definitely possible for 99% of those people to be able to do that. I have been teaching for almost 21 years and legitimately have only met 1 to 2 people who were tone deaf. And they did have problems with their ears, actual problems. I taught an introductory lesson to a student last week who actually has a blown eardrum in one side of her, like in one of her ears. And she has struggled with pitch, but guess what? We were able to get her on pitch by the end of her first lesson. So it's definitely possible even for people that have issues like that too, because she has a fully functional eardrum still on the other side. So it's interesting. So you have to consider, do you have a hearing disability or an impairment? Because that could potentially be a problem.
Well, that could lead to actually being tone deaf.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. But most people who think they're tone deaf, it's because they haven't used the coordination to sing notes that are outside of their talking range. So just let that settle for just a second. Remember, we have about a 5-note range of notes that we use to speak on, our speaking notes. Most people that feel like they're tone deaf, it's because they haven't used their voice a lot to sing, and they haven't done it since they were small children. And so they're not used to hearing pitches outside of their speaking range and learning the coordination to match that pitch. So it's interesting. So like, let's talk about these people who come into the studio for the first lesson and they struggle singing on pitch. The first thing I listen to is I put them into a scale that is specifically in their speaking range, because I've been listening to their talking voice, right? And we just do like a little 5-tone scale in their speaking range. Guess what? They nail it. They can sing that.
Right.
Because the coordination for singing those notes is already there.
Because they do it every day.
Because they speak with those notes every day. It's when I start to get into the range outside of those notes that they start to lose pitch. Here's the thing. It's a developmental coordination skill. It's completely something that you can learn to do if you struggle with that. We tend to see this happen, again, with people who don't have a lot of experience singing, right?
Right, because one thing that I've found really helpful that is a comparison that you've made to me several times is it's very similar to eye-hand coordination, right?
Hand-eye coordination.
It's taking in a signal with one sense, right? Looking, in the
Seeing.
case of eye-hand coordination or hand-eye coordination, however you like to say it, but it's seeing something, taking that information into your brain, processing it, and then having your hands match what is processed in your brain, right? Whether that's playing catch, playing video games, whatever, you're taking in information through your eyes and then you're acting in accordance.
Well, yeah, it's actually the coordination development between the two things, right? See, touch. So you think about small children, think about babies that when they start moving around more and they start picking things up, they constantly drop things, right? Because that hand-eye coordination has not developed yet. It's something that they have to work on constantly. So we're not born having good hand-eye coordination. It's just that people, once they're about 5 years old, because, you know, they still drop everything until about then, whether they do it on purpose or not. But by about 5 years old, everybody's pretty good at that, barring disabilities, right?
Right.
People with impairments may not be, but we'll just say just normal, average people are pretty good at it by then. So I see my cell phone, I pick my cell phone up, right?
Right.
It's simple. I'm not going to drop it unless I'm not paying attention to it or if I stumble. But my hand-eye coordination is very good because I started using it as a baby and I never stopped. It's the same thing for people with naturally, we'll quote that, good pitch versus people who don't have naturally good pitch. Most of the time, that is due to the environment and the exposure you have to music from the time you are very small. And also, not just exposure, but the fact that if you've used it or not. Like if I'm a baby and I never see things and pick them up, when I'm 20 years old, I'm still going to be bad at it.
Right. Which that explains why you say when people come in and you walk them through that five note range that they talk with, they're fine there. But if you haven't done a lot of singing, especially not on a regular basis, you're not used to getting outside of that 5-note range.
5-note range. And so the developmental skill of I hear a pitch, I match a pitch is just not there. If I only learn to pick up a cell phone, but I don't learn to pick up anything else with my hands or do anything else that's fine motor skills with my hands, they won't be able to do anything else. Right?
Right.
I can still learn that as an adult, but I'm going to have to learn it like a baby would.
Right. And so you got to be patient with it. And that's where a lot of people, I feel like they take this leap, right? Especially people who jump on the internet. They want to learn how to sing. They're at this place, right? They don't have necessarily this coordination because they didn't grow up in a musical household where they were singing all the time,
or
exposed
they didn't
to a lot
have
of music.
access to lessons as a kid. Like maybe it just wasn't the culture of your home, but you always wanted to do it. And you never did until maybe you turn like 17 or 30 or whatever that is for you. And then you're approaching it and going, man, I kind of suck at this.
Right. Or it's like, hey, I want to get into this. I haven't really done it much in the past. I don't have this skill developed, but all of a sudden I'm going to look at these tips and tricks on the internet.
On YouTube.
That are way beyond where you should be even focused right now.
Right.
Like if you haven't even focused on this number one skill.
How to sing on pitch.
Right. Of hear a pitch, match a pitch.
Right. In your whole range. Just being able to sing across your entire range. And so it's just really key and important to understand that if you can talk and you don't have a disability or impairment with your speech or your hearing, you can learn to sing on pitch and have really good relative pitch, which is hearing a note, matching it. And that is definitely a skill and a coordination you can do through a series of exercises and begin to really grow that skill. So if you feel like you're one of those people who struggles with pitch, do not worry, because we're going to give you a tip in the next little bit that's going to help you to start to work on that. And then if you want to further explore that, we can definitely get you lined up with a coach who can dive deep into your voice and what's going on with you. It's so nice to have a mentor and a coach who can be another set of ears for you and give you a specific category of exercises to help dial that specific thing in.
Well, and one I think that can understand the situation that you're in, because so much of it, like you were saying, depends on environment, right? The environment that you grew up in. And so when people come in and they weren't part of an environment where it just wasn't a big part of the household in them growing up, or what they were exposed to. So it helps to be with somebody, a coach, who can look at you and just let you know, hey, this wasn't something that was a big part of your young life, but now we're going to nurture this skill. Now we got to start from step number 1 and build in this fundamental, and then we'll go from there.
And actually work on skill development, because it is a skill. Hand-eye coordination, it's a skill. It's a coordination we build. Ear to vocal coordination, absolutely. It's a skill that you build. Our 7-year-old and 4-year-old definitely have a huge advantage growing up in a musical home. They already sing with great pitch because they have a mom who sings all day long. One other thing, though, I have met people who have grown up in very musical homes and they still kind of struggle with the pitch. They come in to me and they're like, why are my sisters so great at singing and I am not? But it's funny because I'm like, well, what did you do growing up? Were you singing as much as them? Were you performing as much? And it's funny. They're like, well, I kind of did it at church with them, or, with family get-togethers, but I was actually the athlete. And I'm like, oh, so the coordination you were focused on building your whole life was to play soccer. Even though you were surrounded by music, you didn't necessarily participate. And that's the second thing. So your environment is super important that you grew up in. But the second thing is actual access to training and development and actually practicing, whether you had a good coach or not, but just using it all the time, just like picking things up and seeing them, right? I'm hearing pitch, I'm matching pitch. So don't be worried. It's totally achievable.
So I think now we're going to transition over and have Angie actually walk you guys through a little exercise that will help you in establishing this first fundamental, which is
if you struggle with pitch,
which is singing on pitch.
If you are someone who struggles with hearing the pitch, feeling the pitch, and then singing the pitch in your voice, then this is going to be a really good exercise for you. It's also really awesome for anybody who wants to just dial in their pitch even more and be able to have that really polished intonation. So there's 4 things I want you to think of. Hear the pitch, visualize the pitch, feel the pitch, sing the pitch. And we're going to go through that really quickly. So what I'm going to do is I have a piano in front of me. I'm going to play a note. Okay, so we're just going to start with a solitary note. And remember, we talked about it's going to be a lot easier to find pitch and match it in your talking voice. So this note right here is one that I used to speak with all the time. So that's another good way to start to work on this, is make sure that your notes that you are using to find that pitch are ones that you actually use to speak. And then we can grow the range from there. So here's that first note. And that's a really good one for me. Guys, that's going to be a little high for you. If your voice has changed, you might feel more comfortable down in here. Okay? This is just middle C. So we're going to listen to this pitch. So let's go with the ladies first. This is a really good talking pitch. So just hear it. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to hear it and visualize what it would feel like if you were to sing it. What does your voice feel like? Feel it in your voice. And then we're going to sing it, and we're just going to do an ooh. Ooh, and match that pitch. So here it is again. Visualize it. Feel it in your voice. And then we're going to sing it. Very good. So guys, same thing down here. Hear the pitch. It's good if you close your eyes, visualize the pitch. Visualize where it is in your body. Feel where it's at. And now, sing an ooh. Ready? And yours is going to be lower than mine. Good. And then if we want to, we can try it again. And maybe let's raise it up 1/2 step. There it is again. So you're going to hear the pitch, visualize the pitch, feel the pitch, sing the pitch. And then you can even move into a little bit of a scale if you'd like to, ladies. Most of these are talking notes for the majority of women. If you have a very, very low voice, speaking voice, this might be a little high for you. If you have a very high soprano speaking voice, this might feel a little low. For most of us, we're mostly mezzo-sopranos. Hear the pitch, visualize the pitch, feel the pitch, sing the pitch. So we're going to hear it. We're visualizing it. We're going to listen to it one more time, feel the pitch. Now, sing the pitch. Great. Guys, last one. This is nice and low. This might be a little low for some of you. Let's do it right here. Hear the pitch. Now close your eyes. Visualize it. Try to feel what it's going to feel like when you sing it. Pinpoint what that feeling is. Now let's sing it. And that range is more of like a baritone range. We're going to go through what that means later on. But basically, it's most guys are in that range and it's very comfortable in their speaking voice. It might be too high for a true bass. It might be too low for a tenor. But that's a good place to start. So kind of start to play around with that of I hear it, I match it. I hear it, I match it. And remember that if you struggle with pitch, that we start with your speaking voice notes and then we grow the range from there.
We hope you guys are enjoying the Fundamentals of Singing video series here on YouTube. If you guys want more free resources on how we help our artists here at InvictiVox, please check out the InvictiVox Radio podcast on YouTube or any major podcast platform.